So clozapine is kind of in a class by itself. Perhaps it works best of all the antipsychotics, and of all of them, we know the least about how this medication works.
Right.
So, clozapine radically changed my life. I spent 12 months trying 5 different antipsychotic medications. Now, I was doing better on these antipsychotics. I didn't live in a hospital. I lived at home. My voices were quieter, but I could hardly read. I could read, but I couldn't study. I slept often 12, 14, sometimes even 16 or more hours a day on some of these medications. I had what's called extrapyramidal symptoms. I was very, very restless, had a flat affect. About the time we were starting clozapine, I was giving up. It felt like nothing could work. But for me, clozapine was it felt like a miracle. I'd been considered permanently and totally disabled on the other antipsychotics until I tried clozapine, and I fully recovered and went back to college and graduated and started a new life.
So when you were rounded up by the police and taken to the locked ward, probably,
yes. Mm-hmm.
You were started on the first of several antipsychotics.
Yes.
And then can you just share with us briefly what it was like, what the residual symptoms were, and then what changed when you went on clozapine?
Yeah, so the first medication I tried is Risperdal, and let me just say, there are some people who thrive on Risperdal.
Yes.
I met a student at the University of Cincinnati who was pre-med, going to college full-time, getting nearly straight A's on 4 milligrams of Risperdal. Mm-hmm. For me, on 4 milligrams of Risperdal, I'm sleeping 16 or more hours a night. I gained weight. I gained 10, 15 pounds very quickly. So I thought, I'm strong, I can't have schizophrenia. I was the violinist, the researcher. I'm not weak. I'm not eccentric. I can't have schizophrenia. And look at what this medication is doing.
Right.
This medication, not the disease right now, but this medication is making me disabled. Mm-hmm. No more of this. I'm going off it.
Right.
But what I didn't understand is that even though the Risperdal had many side effects, and even though I was still hearing voices all the time, it was helping. It was helping enough for me to live outside the hospital.
Right.
So when I went off Risperdal after a few weeks, I had another psychotic episode where I actually broke a violin because the voices told me to. This
was your beloved, cherished violin, if I remember.
Beautiful violin. The voices in schizophrenia, at least in my experience, you can't not listen to your brain. The voices were so powerful, they'd just taken over. I couldn't ignore them. And Risperdal allowed me to ignore the voices.
So you went off the Risperdal, you relapsed, and this is a common theme with people with schizophrenia, where there are side effects of the medication, and then the person says, yeah, I don't think I need this, and stop it, and relapses. Right. How long were you in relapse, and what happened after that?
So I was taken to the hospital after I broke the violin. And I wish they'd said, Bethany, why did you stop this medication? Are you having side effects? Because there are medications available to deal with my side effects.
Right.
So unfortunately, they didn't ask me. They just put me right back on Risperdal. I wish that I had started a new medication right then and there. But after I was released from the hospital, I met with a new doctor, and I was prescribed a medication called Invega. But I still had a very low quality of life, and I was still permanently, as it seemed, and totally disabled. I mean, work was impossible, even a simple job. I was sedated 24 hours a day. Even going to school, taking one class was not possible. Mm-hmm. So over the next few months, we tried a number of medications, Abilify, Geodon, I tried Zyprexa. I was all excited when I started Abilify because the side effects were disappearing, and then the psychosis just comes right back.
Right.
That was my experience. So 12 months went by with all these different medications, and then when my new medications were not working, I actually ended up in the hospital again. they put me on Invega again, and I felt like I'd wasted months and months and was almost right back where we had started.
Right.
And I'll just say, it felt hopeless. It really felt like I would never get better.
And then you had a meeting that changed your life.
I had a meeting that changed my life.
And it was with Dr. Nasrallah.
Yes. So I met Dr. Nasrallah after that hospitalization, and he said, Bethany, you need to try Clozapine. Now, he also said some things that were a little bit scary. One of them was weight gain. I was told that I might gain 50, perhaps even 100 pounds on Clozapine. But I was doing so badly on the other meds, we still had to give it a try. Rare side effects, seizures can happen in rare cases, heart problems, there are other side effects.
Well, like wiping out your leukocytes in the bone marrow. That's kind of a big one.
There's a 1% chance of a serious reaction with your white blood cells where they clot, which can be fatal. So there's a mandatory blood test with Clozapine. And this white blood cell side effect can be detected before it becomes serious, and the medication can be discontinued.
Right.
So there is a chance that Clozapine could cause death, but it hasn't for many, many years because the blood test will determine if you're at risk.
And that's something that I do with my patients that are on Clozapine. And the protocol is the REMS protocol. And in order for me to actually have a prescription filled at the pharmacy for a patient, they have to have a blood test for the first 6 months every week.
Yeah,
and
that's what it was for me.
And then for the next 6 months, every 2 weeks. And then after that, every month. So far, I've never had a problem with a patient on it. But this is the way to protect, to mitigate against that risk. And interestingly, and perhaps in another section we can talk more about Clozapine, but it's one of the reasons that doctors are gun shy about prescribing it. And for many years, until I met you, I was. And then I saw what it could do.
Yeah. Clozapine is not used in many cases because people are able to live outside the hospital. And instead of saying, oh, Bethany is totally and permanently disabled, they say, well, Bethany is doing better. And it's really important for us to not settle. If you have schizophrenia and you're sleeping 16 hours a day, or you have other debilitating side effects, it's really important to talk to your doctor about trying a new medication and possibly trying Clozapine. I'll say I'm very bad with needles. I'm not good at getting my blood drawn, but it's been a very small price to pay because of how well I've done in Clozapine. You know, I understand that there's about 20 to 25% of patients who qualify for a trial of Clozapine, but 4 to 5% of patients actually begin Clozapine. So it's very underutilized in the United States.
So may I suggest that we take a little break and then come back and talk more about Clozapine? I think it is incredible what you have shared with the viewers. Thank you for being here, Bethany.